Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another .NET MAUI Community Toolkit stand-up. My name is Brandon Minnick, and
I'm
James, how are you?
I'm pretty good, pretty good. I'm enjoying the winter weather here in Canada. It's been snowing and raining a lot, and it's been very nice winter so far. I've really enjoyed the holidays, and I'm eager to get back and probably get a lot more done this year.
yeah, yeah. Happy holidays, happy New Year. That's actually why we're hanging out today on January 8th, when we usually meet on the first Thursday, because this month the first Thursday was New Year's, and so we kicked it back a week. Hopefully that didn't impact too many folks. Looks like our chat will be a little quieter today, but that's okay, because I want to kick things off with
Bindable
some of the
properties.
some of the work we've been doing. So we have a new PR for attached bindable properties here.
Yeah, I took a chance at that, and apparently I still get a lot to learn. Like I'm a decent developer, I think, but I'm not quite there at the same level as say Pedro or Brandon is yet. So I made a try at it, and I backed away and said, "Hey, everybody else, go ahead, have fun," because I couldn't quite get it right, you know.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. This is a really unique use case, attached bindable property, because with attached bindable properties, the property doesn't actually exist. There's just a bindable property. So if we scroll down here, what this is doing is generating the bindable property using specifically the bindable property.createAttached method. And when you do that, there actually is no property. It kind of well, it exists under the hood. .NET MAUI knows how to deal with this, but for public APIs, for developers using an attached bindable property, they actually interact with it using just public get and set methods. And so these are public static methods, and you've probably used it when using a grid. So if you say like grid dot, I think it's row is an attached property. So like grid dot row equals 1 or something like that. It's actually using attached bindable properties under the hood. So kind of a niche use case. Maybe folks aren't super familiar, if certainly if you've never created one before. But the good news is we've got an implementation. I cranked this out last week. And yeah, want to share it with the world today. Wanted to get everybody's opinion on it. I don't love the current implementation. And I'll tell you why in a bit. But yeah, I wanted to show you what we're working with. So with attached bindable property, it has to go somewhere. And since there's no property for it to attach to, we've created an implementation where you can put this attribute on your class, or you can put this attribute on your constructor. And also because it's not an attribute going onto a property like the bindable property attribute is, we need more info. So things like we need to know what your type is. So you can pass in, this is actually attached bindable property. There, let me edit this because it doesn't actually need the attribute word. So let's make this prettier for folks checking out the PR. All right, so you'll say attached bindable property of T, and now I just added the space there. Whoops. We'll fix that later. So attached bindable property of T. So you got to tell us what we're generating. So in this case, it's a string. So down here, get text, set text, uses string. And let's see, I'll ignore this for right now, but you need to tell us what your property name is. So in this case, you tell us your property name is text. And so we create all of these based on that. So like this bindable property.create attached will create a attached bindable property called text. And then your two methods will be get text, set text. And then everything else through here is basically the same. We brought back default value, which James, I'm sure you remember. We actually removed default value.
We did, yeah.
From bindable property. Well, it's back now because there's no other way to set a default value in an attribute going out of class. Whereas with bindable property, you place that on a property, and now we can just use property initializers. So we got default value. You tell us your default binding mode, if you're passing in any methods for like property change, property changing. This is all the same. But then when I started implementing it in our sample app, in our library in community toolkit.maui, I realized, well, wait a minute. We're going to be generating bindable properties. We're going to be generating getters and setters, but we have custom XML documentation on those. So there is a default XML description that we'll include here. So if you don't give us an XML documentation, we'll just kind of use this generic, like this is an attached bindable property for the text property, and this gets text for the child element. Very, very boilerplate. But for us, because we have this open source library and we need to better explain to our developers how to use this, we also need to pass in custom XML documentation. So this is new. And then another thing that's new is telling us what you want the accessibility to be. So again, maybe a better way to talk about this is to show them side by side, because I keep talking about bindable property. Let's see if we can pull this up real quick. All right, so be source. And then our internal source generators.
Generators. There we go.
Boom. All right, let's see if we can view these side by side. Yeah, that's pretty close. Yeah, so when you put bindable property onto a property, well, you already have all of the access modifiers on it. So like your property will say like public string, whatever, and it'll have a get set, or maybe it has a get private set. And then, so we can just take those keywords and apply them to the generated code. But again, here, you're putting this attribute onto a class or constructor. We don't know what you want your accessibility to be. And again, this is something I discovered when implementing this attached bindable property attribute for our library. Was we had an internal attached bindable property. It's like, dang it. So I guess we need a way for folks to tell us what you want it to be. So by default, if you don't set these will be public. But if you need it to be internal, if you need it to be private, if you need it to be whatever, protected, private, we cover all the use cases here. So yeah, this is hot off the presses. I'll say, so circling back, I mentioned this false right here. Okay, this is one thing I don't love about this implementation, but I don't know if there's a better way to do it, because when you pass in types, okay, so this false, what is it? This false is saying, is this type nullable? And the way I have this configured, let's pull up some code here so we can see some syntax highlighting. Attached bindable property. No, we'll just get there manually. All right, so analyzers, internal generators, attached bindable property. There we go. Okay, so yeah, the way this is set up right now, and I might change this, is that we just have a required property name. So this text here, this is required. If you just say attached bindable property of type string, open close parenthesis, you'll get a compiler error because we can't generate anything unless you tell us what the property name is. So that needs to be there. But what I might change is I also put is nullable here. So the way attributes work, you can't pass in a nullable value to T. And that's just a C# thing. It's actually a .NET thing, because nullables like string question mark, that's just C# syntax that that Roslyn uses, that the compiler uses to check for nulls at compile time. .NET doesn't know about that, and they also haven't percolated that feature to attributes. So like, if I tried to say that this is string question mark, I'll get a compiler error. So we need a way for folks to tell us, do you want this to be a nullable string or not? And so right now, I also have that in the constructor. I don't know if I love it. What I might do is just make this a get init here, and then let folks set it this way. But the weird thing is like, if you need it to be nullable, you have to tell us, and we're going to get a compiler error here if you don't. So that's something I've kind of noted as we'll need to update our, or let me back up. I'm going to create analyzers. So we're going to release these attributes, bindable property, attached bindable property. We're going to release these as experimental before we write all the docs, before we add analyzers. But I'll be adding analyzers kind of similar to how the MVVM toolkit has analyzers. So if you forget something silly like the partial keyword here, or in this case, if you try to make string nullable, I'll give you a helpful error message, because I feel like I'm a pretty advanced C# developer, and I didn't know that attributes type T couldn't be nullable, and the error message that .NET spits out isn't that helpful. So we'll have an analyzer here.
At best.
What's that?
Esoteric at best.
Yeah, like for example, I've written tons and tons of unit tests, so I'm very confident in how all these are working. So we've got a folder here, and just literally thousands of lines of code of unit tests for these things. And what was actually fun, what I did for this, James, was I wrote all these unit tests first. I did test-driven development.
Yeah.
And then actually once I had finished writing the tests, because the way these unit tests work for source generators is you write the source yourself. This is just a string with some nice C# highlighting, but you can see it's just a string. And then you write another string that shows the expected generated code. And then we've got a little helper method here, but you basically just verify it. So yeah, I wrote all these tests because I was like, this is how I want the generated code to look. And then after that was done, I actually just went to Copilot and said, hey, see all these unit tests that are failing? Write a source generator that makes it work. And from what I can tell, the way it wrote the source generator, it leveraged a lot of our existing code. So like there's a lot of like generate attached bindable property. Like this is basically the same method in the bindable property attribute, the non-attached generator. So it looks like it sourced some of our own code, but had Copilot do that first run through and then started kind of going back and forth and playing around with it. So
one question I do have is, does it support read-only?
What do you mean?
So I mean, like there is attached bindable properties that are read-only. Like, as far as I looked on the MAUI site because that's where I was looking originally, and there is a read-only version of attached bindable properties. If you go look on the MAUI site, it should be there.
Interesting. Let's see. MAUI read-only attached bindable property. Let's see. Do you know where it is?
I thought I saw it. No, I saw it on I was looking in the code on the MAUI site, like on the GitHub. Whether it should be here though, it should be there.
Actually, I do have an answer for you. So read only would be that it doesn't have a setter.
Yeah.
And what we can do, well, here, let me show you a little bit more. Because to do this, I had to also create a new enum so that you could tell us what the access modifier should be for, this is for the bindable property, the getter, and the setter. And if you say none, then we just won't generate it. So if you say setter accessibility equals none, then it'll be read only. But what I'm worried about, because there are read only bindable properties in MAUI. Create. Let's see. Create read only. Create. What's shoot?
Well, I think we'll have to figure this out somewhere else. I don't think we're going to figure this out right here.
Well, I guess what I want to ask you, James, is so like this uses bindable property dot create attached.
Yeah.
There's also bindable property.
That's right there. It says read only. I'm sorry, not read only, but I saw on the a version that had bindable property create attached read only somewhere in the MAUI code base. I remember specifically seeing that. So I could be hallucinating, but I don't think so.
Let's just go. Let's go to a random file and try to create one. So bindable property dot. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's also one thing I was
existed.
worried about. Yeah. That's what I spent 90% of my time on trying to solve, and that's where I got totally sidetracked, completely wrong about what I was doing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll have to figure that one out. I didn't know that method existed. Okay. So no, I haven't supported that. But I think the point still stands. I'll have to look into what's special about an attached read-only bindable property. Because if it is just read-only, that means it doesn't have a setter. So we might be able to get away with.
We'd have to be specific in the documentation for that, though. I mean, have to see when you do the unit test for it, whether or not it will generate it in a way that replicates the behavior that we expect.
Yeah. So I'll have to look into because I've never created a read-only attached bindable property. Just learned that existed. So I'll have to figure out what that implementation looks like, and hopefully it's nothing too special, and we could just recommend folks use this, or I could create an overload of this to basically create another attribute type called read-only attached bindable property, and it'll just default the setter accessibility to none. But good call out. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry to ambush you like that. I thought maybe it was already there and I just didn't see it.
Nope. No, good catch. Whew. So, I guess we still have some work to do on attached bindable properties. But outside of that, what else? What else do you think?
I would suggest that if you want to start on that next, I would just create. I would look at the generated code for create a bunch of attached bindable read-only properties, and simply look at the generated code, and then create unit tests based on that, and then have ChatGPT figure that out. It seems the easiest solution.
I'll figure it out. I mean, it can't generate code unless we write the source generator. So I'm not sure
Oh, okay.
what you
No, I'm
mean,
saying
but
is look at the end result for the generated code for when you create doesn't MAUI create generated code for bindable properties like what normally, or is that just all okay? So I'm talking about like when we write it the long way. Like don't count me write it out the long way and then figure out. Oh, sorry, never mind.
no worries. Okay, let's see. So let's see, George. Do we have resources? I wish, man. The documentation on writing source generators is abysmal. Last I checked, it doesn't exist in the official Microsoft Docs. So was that learn.microsoft.com? Instead, you have to dig into the Roslyn open source library, and somewhere in there, like 6 folders deep, you'll find documentation and examples by the Roslyn team. But yeah, honestly, George, what I do is I just use LLMs for source generators now because it's it's a very abstract way of thinking. So you're writing code that writes code, and you're using Roslyn, which is
Yeah.
very different APIs than anything you're used to. So things like an I type symbol or an I name symbol, like little things like how do I know if a type symbol is a nullable value type? Well,
Yeah, you're generally you're adding code. You're not you're generating code and adding code. You're not editing code, and you got to be very careful not to edit the code that you're generating, like or that you're generated from. You know, like that's what I've read. That's the one thing I've learned in all of this is source generators generate code. They don't change code. Is that correct?
yeah,
Yeah.
they shouldn't be changing anything. Let's see. Oh, so yeah, so George, to answer your question, the best models I found are the Claude models, like Haiku and Sonnet, are specifically trained on C Sharp. Copilot's also pretty good if you don't want to leave Visual Studio, and Copilot can use. I think it supports Haiku, or maybe it supports Sonnet. It supports one of the Claude models,
Yeah.
so you can always
VS Code is also very good with the GitHub Copilot extension because it gives you a lot more extensibility in terms of what type of agents you use. It also has support for MCP, and there's a lot of different varieties you can do there. And I find myself going back and forth between Visual Studio and VS Code. If I want to generate stuff, I go to VS Code, and then I switch back to Visual Studio to understand what it did.
nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got a couple options. Steven, good to see you, man. Let's see. Attached bindable property is static, but couldn't the partial property still be used? So no. When it comes to attached bindable properties, there is no property. It doesn't exist, and that's kind of the whole reason why we had to basically implement a new source generator. We can't reuse existing code for bindable property because there is no property. So like, so again, like grid.row, if you go searching the .NET MAUI source code, you won't find a public property called row underneath grid. So yeah, you just can't put these onto a partial property because then it would just be a bindable property. It wouldn't be an attached bindable property. All right. So
Yeah, when C Sharp gets to be magic, it gets complicated.
well, that's not C Sharp. That's just how .NET MAUI implements bindable properties versus attached bindable properties. So yeah, I think my takeaways here is I'm going to remove this from the constructor. This is nullable. And we'll drop it down here. So just like it says default value equals hello world, we'll say something like is type nullable equals false. or something like that, which is a lot more work than it sounds like, 'cause you also have to update every single unit test. So that'll take a good a good hour just to fix. And then yeah, I'll look into read-only attached bindable properties, James. It could be just .NET MAUI requires using or returns a bindable property key instead of a bindable property. So it may be an easier fix, but yeah, this is this is already a lot. So anybody watching this a little later, feel free to check out the PR, leave a comment, let us know what you think about this implementation. Is it something you would use? Like, does this actually save you any code? Is kind of my big thought when I was going through this, like when I was implementing it for community toolkit.maui, like the state container. Actually, here, I'll show you that. So, you know, like the amount of code you have to write is a lot. And does that really save us? Are people going to use this? I guess over just the normal way. Like, let's see if I can show you the diff here. State container. Boom, boom, boom. So it used to look like this with, say, an internal static read-only bindable property, some associated get set static methods, but this is still a lot of code to write. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it. I think most people won't have things like XML documentation, or they won't have custom setter accessibilities. And we'll see more examples of just like attached bindable property of type, in this case, state container, and the name. So hopefully it'll help folks, but it's been a lot of work trying to implement this. And it'll be interesting to see how many folks use it. So, all right, let's keep moving here. Let's jump back to the wiki. There we go. Because speaking of Steven, bindable property, non-static methods. So first, thank you, Stephen. I appreciate this. I just wanted to bring it up here as a as a discussion, because for the first part is I think I left you a message down here. Yeah. So yeah, I added the do not merge to this for now because we got to create attached bindable property first. And want to get through a first implementation of bindable property attributes before we add new features. But also to mention, did I put it in here? Yeah. So one of the things I was worried about is introducing a performance hit instead of using static methods. So to be perfectly honest with you, Stephen, I haven't dug deeply into this PR to see the implementation. This was just my first thought when I saw it pop up. But it also did make me think about, there's a totally different way of doing all this. So like right now, with the way we've implemented it, you pass in the name of your method. For your example, for like default value creator, you tell us what the name of the method is using the name of property. But the way the MVVM source generator works is it generates a bunch of partial methods. And so you get to implement your implementation of that partial method that it generates for you. So I also kind of had that thought here when reading through this, because that would also be an easy way to use instance methods. And so I don't know what the best the best way to go about it right now.
I had when I was implemented my failed version, I came across some significant performance issues, and I was reading up that there are specific ways of optimizing it so you do not have performance issues, and it's very easy for developers to be in a position where they need to implement processes to fix that, because apparently the Rosalind team at one point came across issues like this and found active solutions for performance. And they documented because I found it.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
mean, static methods will always be more performant than instance methods because you don't have to add them and remove them
There
from
was
the
also
stack.
how often, because there's also, this gets called, um, like the way it's called, and you can control that to a certain degree for when the search entry gets called. And that can affect performance significantly.
Okay, got it. That's different than what we're talking about here with instance versus static methods. But
Oh, okay, yeah, that is true. Yeah.
so so yeah, I think Stephen, the really cool thing about this is that you can use type safe methods, um, which is nicer than kind of the boilerplate um, way of having to use like object. Like we could actually set the type on them, but we'll circle back to this later, man. I've got so much on my plate with attached bindable properties, so we'll see where those go, and then get a working implementation, and then start looking into features. Uh, Android service
Yes,
update.
yes, this was my current attempt to modernize the media element in Android to support more modern features. Essentially, it's going from basically a C# service to an Android session service. So basically, it's a media session service versus just a pure service. The advantages to this was I was able to reduce a significant amount of code, but I did come into a real issue where it only released the media session service only supports a singular version of the player. There are possible workarounds to make it work, but it's also very much indicated by Google and also by iOS that running multiple media players is very much not recommended, for specifically because, well, if you're say running a texture view, you're going to hit a max limit of 2 players anyway because you're limited by the number of hardware decoders on the chip.
Hmm.
So if you run a software decoder, you can run 600 players and you can run them simultaneously. And based on the performance issues that we have with phones nowadays, with the latest, S25 Ultra, you could probably get away with running 600 videos simultaneously. And you wouldn't have any performance issues, but should you run 600? And there's also the issue of if I'm having media notifications, there's a 0% chance I'm going to be able to have more than one of them for the media player at one time. I looked into that, and Google doesn't support that at all, period. There are workarounds for various technical projects that required it. But again, if someone has a collection view with 600 media elements, you could cause some serious issues with notifications that way, especially if they all have artwork.
Yeah, that makes sense. And honestly, that was kind of why I wanted to chat about it today.
Mainly, I wanted to hear about your opinion about this. I just was just going over the details, that's all.
Yeah, this is something where, well, we just got to get more input because the like I've been through this PR, and it everything's pretty good, but yeah, it's that breaking change from um, allowing developers currently to have as many media elements as they want versus this will restrict them to just one. So it'll be a pretty big breaking change.
It
I
would
can
be,
see
yeah.
this affecting a lot of folks, especially anybody that, I mean, they shouldn't, but anybody that's using it inside of a collection view or a list view.
Or grid.
Yeah, yeah, or a grid. But yeah, so is it the right way to go? Probably. Do we have our backs up against the wall because we've already given developers the capability to make multiple media elements? Definitely. So yeah, the reason I put I wanted to chat about this today was just kind of get that feedback. You know,
Yeah.
if we push this through, then we also need to.
I have feedback from the community about what projects it's in and how it will negatively affect them, if anybody. Because I imagine our people that are using this that way, and giving them a heads up and hearing their opinion is very important. Because if the majority of users are using it in a collection view or a grid, we need to know that so we can decide whether or not we're going to go through with it. Because if 80% of users that we hear from are all like, no, we need it the way it is, we can stick with what we have.
Yeah. Well, and on top of that, um, this PR would also have to, or we have to re-architect media element. Like
Yeah.
maybe we implement it as a singleton so that you can't create multiple instances of it. So that just requires more thought.
Yeah.
Because yes, we could merge this. We could include in our release notes that it's a breaking change. People will be mad. Oh well. But then the way it's architected, you can still create as many instances as you want.
Yeah.
And so it just requires a lot of thought. So like for another example would be if, let's say, you have a page in your app that has a media element on it,
Yeah.
and then you navigate to another page. So there's been a second page pushed on the navigation stack that also has a media element on it. Well, now you have two instances of media element active in your stack, active in memory. How does that affect things? So there's a lot of impact to this, and I don't know what the right decision is. I'm kind of leaning towards right now everything's working for the most
Yeah.
part. I mean, I did
That's what I was
see.
leaning towards too. Is there are possible solutions that will allow us to have our cake and eat it too, but it would involve a significantly more complex solution that instead of removing code would add code. It would allow us to have the specific libraries that I really want to use, but I actually honestly don't want to use those libraries enough to add, say, another 1,000 or 2,000 lines of code to make it work. Because it already works, as you said, and the only current working issue that I don't like is the fact we can't have more than one media session active at a time, which means when you run any collection view of players or anything like that, that the notifications just don't work. And that's always been an issue, and that's primarily what I wanted to fix. And creating a singleton does fix that, but it also breaks so many things that I'm not really happy with this, but I would like to find a way to make it work. But hearing from the community as to whether or not we're going to add a couple thousand lines of code because 80% of users use it, or we hear back that nobody uses it. Like we'd like to know that, right? So, yeah.
Yep, pretty much. And so, yeah, the other thing, James, you might want to follow up with Keith here because he says parts of this PR fixes an issue I have, and so we should probably
Yeah.
ask him just to open an issue if we don't already have one open for his issue, because if he's,
I think if you scroll up, I think I have a list of issues and see if we can see his issue.
well, he didn't tell us what his issue
Okay.
is, so that's why we need to follow up. But yeah, because if there's other ways to fix, like, let's see. Oh,
Well, I had fixes, I thought.
dang. Yeah. So I guess my point is, yeah, if this fixes other issues,
Yeah.
then yeah, maybe there's other ways we can implement those fixes
Fixes,
without
yeah.
switching this over to the media session service. So, because I don't know how long this one's going to sit in draft. I can't promise this will ever be merged.
I can't promise it'll ever go to draft. Like, I mean, at this point, like, we need first input from the community, and B, I have to decide whether or not, based on that input, what to do. Because at this point, if we're just going to be adding a ton of code, I don't see any advantage to doing that. Because things already work as they are.
Yeah.
Reducing code is the idea.
So yeah, TBD, and yeah, hopefully, I already forgot his name, Keith. Keith, if you're watching, hopefully that helps you understand why this hasn't been merged yet. It's not just sitting idle for since October for no reason. I promise.
Yeah. Okay. This is a very quick one. This is literally adding a pending intent to when you click on the media, like when you have in Android, if you click on the icon for the notification, it does nothing. But now with this, if you click on it, it opens the app to where the media player is. It just restores activity. Yeah. So essentially, if you've minimized it or you've gone to another app and you just open it and tap on it like you do with any other media player, it literally, that's all it does. It opens that up.
I was about to say, so you added the intent. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, James, if you can find, because I'm up to my eyeballs in this bindable property push. Yeah, if you can ping another maintainer, see if someone else can review it, test it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, using intents, that's how you would do it, but Android's weird, so you got to test it on Android
100 devices.
API 35, Android API 26, and I probably won't have time to get around to anything other than bindable property for at least a month. But yeah, this is pretty quick. See if you can get somebody looped in, because that's such a big quality of life improvement for users.
It is, yeah.
Like, I hate when I tap on a notification and it doesn't do what
anything.
I thought it would. All right, love that.
And this one's even simpler. This is, if you look at the changes there, if you just quickly look. Yeah, what it does is right now, if you have an .mp4 video file and you just change the source 3 or 4 times, it will just hang and do nothing. And it's been like that since day one. If you, in the meantime, if you go and switch to a different source, and it has to be a URL, and it only affects MP4 video files. And if you set the URI source, it fixes the issue.
Nice.
And what's really funny about this is I can't figure out anywhere on Earth to actually find out where the actual source code is for our media player element. Like, I can't find the proper source library to actually file a bug report.
Oh.
And yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Is it Microsoft UI.xaml that controls, and which one is it? Because there's like a dozen of them on GitHub.
Yeah. So, or I'll show you. There's a little shortcut. I mean, I'm on a Mac, so I can't look into this for Windows. But what you can do, you can always like argument exception. This is in the .NET library.
Yeah.
So if I say go to declaration, well, now it's showing me like here's the actual source
Yeah.
code for it. It's in the system
Yeah.
namespace, and you can kind of use this info.
I've done that. I've done that, and the problem is there is something like I found 6 different versions of exact identically named library on GitHub, all from Microsoft for the same OS or the same like every. I guess it's hard to explain. I found 6 different versions of the same library that does the same thing with the same namespace.
Oh. Fun. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll go ahead and
Okay.
whoops. Let's see. Update. There we go. It's funny as I'm clicking things because I have the font zoomed in.
Yeah.
The click box is moved around. So yeah, we'll go ahead and confirm that. That seems good. Easy. And then we don't have to.
And full screen events, I do have a question there. It's kind of stuck on the point where I have some design flaws that I'm going to, if you don't see them, I'll point them out. But I'm pretty sure they would be obvious if you looked at it. I'm looking for input for someone who has a better suggestion for how to implement some of this stuff, because at this point I'm passing the media manager through the handler to other places I probably shouldn't. If you look at the modifications I made to the handler there, it's not something I would ever recommend anybody ever do. It works, but it's definitely not what you want to do. Like, you shouldn't be returning the media manager to the handler. Or should you? I mean, like, it doesn't really.
Unsure. I haven't looked at this one yet.
Yeah. So I want to get it out there because this has been around for now almost more than half a year, and I've had several different iterations over that period of time and looked at it. This is the best one I have. It works. The main issue is I think it's Windows and Android have specific requirements for how things are handled, and so I ended up passing it through the media manager through the handler back and forth. And I do know there are probably better methods out there, and I'm hoping somebody can point that out because I'm stuck on this one. It works, but still, it's not ideal. There are no issues with it. It just works.
Yeah. No, that is strange because it looks like, media manager is probably a property in here. And by the way, make sure to media element should have a lowercase m up here. But I'm not sure where media manager lives. It looks like it lives in here as a property. And if it is, then it's probably accessible outside of this. So yeah, instead of passing it around, if it already exists as a property, we should be able to just reference it. But yeah, again, grab another maintainer, see if Vlad or Cliff or Sean or Gerald is available to help push some of this stuff through, because I'll be.
Because this quality of life, this is something that people have requested for a while, and I've been pinged quite a few times of why hasn't this been merged. So that's why I brought this up. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
And that's it for me. That's all my things this month.
That's it for the agenda. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Start spreading the word, folks, about attached bindable property and bindable property. Because while we're working on it, this is the easiest time to make changes. And then once it's implemented, we can also circle back to Steven's PR about supporting non-static methods. But we'll get something working first. We'll get it released and experimental, and then we'll see how everybody likes it. And hopefully you do, because it's been a lot of work.
It's the first thing I've gotten excited to starting in December. I'm like, you're going to do that? Because Brandon was mentioning it. I'm like, and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to help. So I started jumping on and doing all the small little bits here and there and all the sample apps and the little libraries. And I'm like, are you got it ready yet so I can actually test it? I'm like, I was bugging him, right?
Nah, I was on vacation, but that's
Yeah.
okay too. So, well, thanks again, everybody. We'll be back at our usual time next month on the first Thursday. We are looking into maybe changing the time of day, but this is the time slot that the .NET Foundation gave to us. So
Yeah.
we just need to find somebody on the .NET Foundation to help us out. So if anybody knows anybody on the board, pass along their info. Let us know, because it's a tough time. It's about, I think, noon for both me and James, but for folks like Vlad, I think it's 10, 11 p.m. over in Ukraine. So we could do a little better. But anyways,
And in
we'll
the
see you
UK,
next month.
it's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Just closing out. So we'll see you next month on the first Thursday at 12 p.m. Pacific. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.